tell everybody how this happened. I sent President Trump some information. The text message came back, sounds great. Do you want FDA approval? Let's do it. It was literally that quick.
You see this? There are some glaring issues with this. Oh wait, not that. This.
Joe Rogan, who's a podcaster, not a medical professional, was able to send a small amount of data saying that the medication Ibogaine was safe and effective, and the president saying, hey, let's get this FDA approved, is not how the FDA actually works.
Instead of addressing the 800-pound gorilla in the room, no, not Joe Rogan, the opioid epidemic that has been affecting millions of us for the better part of 3 decades. The quest for internet clout and subscription to political dogma paints this as an issue that has nothing to do with the 100,000 people who lose their lives every year from substance dependency by focusing on the most important thing, in their minds, Joe Rogan with Trump at the White House. Never mind the fact that we have brothers, sisters, coworkers, classmates, veterans, cousins, parents, aunts, uncles, and you name it, being unalived by the opioid crisis. The most important thing is sticking to your political identity, lest you be mistaken for a traitor and canceled. This is a huge deal because influencers and media outlets are trying to nitpick and deny the fact that finding ways out of the opioid crisis, the opioid epidemic, that actually help and heal people is one of the most important goals of our time. Brian Hubbard, the guy standing to Joe Rogan's left, has described the process of finding a scalable Ibogaine treatment regimen to help those with PTSD, substance dependency, and other psychiatric conditions as the moonshot of our time. And to deny this, to make light of the estimated 900,000 plus lost lives since the introduction of oxycodone in 1996, is to deny that we have a huge psychiatric crisis in the West, especially in the United States, that's being largely ignored. You won't find protests over the lives lost from the opioid epidemic. Instead, media outlets and influencers are attacking this executive order by claiming that fast-tracking FDA approval, especially at the suggestion of a podcaster and comedian, is unscientific.
Is not how the FDA actually works.
The problem is that this wouldn't be the first executive order that affected a substance's safety approval by the FDA. And the best example of this that I can think of is for the artificial sweetener aspartame. In 1981, at the behest of Donald Rumsfeld, President Reagan signed an executive order that suspended the head of the FDA's powers on aspartame, then fired that head of the FDA and replaced him with Arthur Hull Hayes.
The 60 million Americans with high blood pressure need to watch carefully how much sodium they eat.
Who had no experience in food safety whatsoever and completely ignored other scientists' warnings that aspartame was causing cancer in rodent trials, and that data in general was just pretty much shoddy in terms of the safety profile of aspartame. And he got aspartame approved anyway, despite the debate that had been going on for years since aspartame's invention.
This is real science.
It's worth mentioning, at the same time, Donald Rumsfeld was conveniently still CEO of GD Searle, the company that was producing aspartame.
It doesn't work on vibes, it works on evidence.
It's all flim-flam.
The primary difference here is that Ibogaine has the potential to help countless people in their recovery process, whereas Donald Rumsfeld and the aspartame manufacturers were solely trying to capture a share of the sugar market. But the issue here also is not that Joe Rogan texted Trump to get Ibogaine approved for therapeutic use, nor is it the speed at which the FDA tests and possibly approves Ibogaine or other psychedelic treatments. The issue here is the fact that the current treatment models for PTSD, substance dependency, also known as addiction, and psychiatric conditions in general are severely lacking. They're not working. We wouldn't have this crisis if they were.
Oh, no. No.
If these treatment methods were effective, we wouldn't have nearly as many people suffering from addiction, PTSD, and skyrocketing numbers of veterans unaliving themselves. Rather than thinking of this as the FDA fast-tracking the approval of psychedelic therapy options, we should be thinking about it as the FDA is making up for lost time since the sweeping Psychedelics Act passed by Nixon in 1970 that effectively halted all studies into using psychedelics as treatments for psychiatric conditions. That's almost 60 years that research could have been taking place. It also needs to be said that the idea of funding studies of psychedelic psychiatric treatments didn't just sprout up when Joe Rogan texted Trump. In 2023, lawmakers were discussing this very topic. What's more is utilizing psychedelic therapies was a bipartisan effort back then, and still is, with AOC even stating, "These are powerful substances. I don't want to give a short shrift, but they also have powerful potential as well." This article also states that AOC supported a bill on the same topic way back in 2019. Dan Crenshaw, a Republican representative and former Navy SEAL, also stated in 2023 that, "I still can't find a Congress member who's opposed to this being a push for psychedelic therapy research." So before you believe the grift, remember the severity of the topics at hand. All of us know someone who has suffered directly or indirectly from the opioid epidemic. We all have friends, family, or coworkers who are veterans suffering from the crippling isolation of PTSD, and who know fellow veterans that have taken their own lives. This executive order is a major step forward towards healing as a society, and whether you're a Democrat, Republican, or off the political spectrum altogether, this research will serve humanity as a whole.
It's all flim-flam.